The following may contain language that is not suitable for all audiences. Well, the annoying bells.
I ain't got a topic.
That's okay. I was just gonna kind of start off on what's gone on the last bit. Got a new president, and I've been listening to. Well, as you know, I like to listen to or try to listen to some podcasts. And
All
stuff.
sorts of podcasts.
Most of them are. The funny thing I found was the podcasts that are like kind of right.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Gone off the deep end.
well, no, they were kind of funny because all during it, just before the elections, they're like, trust the plan. This is going to happen. They're going to overturn this. They're going to overturn that, and I was just sitting there going, I don't know. It just seems kind of odd. And putting aside, let's just say, yeah, what if there's cheating going on? But I think that's like the dirty little secret that everybody that plays the game in that realm kind of plays along with.
What, everybody knows? The
No.
fix is in.
Well, the fix may be in, but regardless of whether the fix is in, they always sit there and say it was clean.
So they changed their tune.
No, I mean the people that actually play in the game. The politicians.
Right.
Because I remember something a long time ago, I guess when former President Jimmy Carter was sent as some kind of election observer in some country. And
This is before he was...
no, this was after he was the president.
After.
It was in the 90s, and heck, it could have even been in Haiti, I don't know. But the fix definitely was in that third country.
Mm-hmm.
And when reporters were going to report that, I believe what I was told was that the former president here, who was sent over there as an election observer, and I'm doing air quotes now.
Pretty sad air quotes, bro.
Yeah. He was saying, no. You report that it was a fair and honest election.
Why?
Well, what's more important? As many people say, the whole reason that the government works is because people have confidence that those elections are fair and, people have a voice and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't think that, then the politicians are in a world of hurt. So even though one potential could be, even though they know that some cheating's gone on or whatever, something untoward might have gone on, but it's more important that the populace believes that it's above board so that they'll keep on playing. So...
But what if it's not?
What do you mean, what if it's not?
I mean... So it's a lie.
Again, isn't that something that I had mentioned? That, why things may be founded or rooted or we're told might be actual truth, like the principles of something might be the truth. The running of that thing, the administration of that thing, is all based on lies. And that kind of happens for all bureaucracies, I believe. But even in government, is it more important that the populace knows that there's nothing that they can do about stuff? Or is it, it's like the thermostat thing. The thermostat that doesn't control anything in an office building and people still kind of jiggle with it because they think they can do something, but in reality...
I'm shaking my head.
But,
SMH.
But, those the podcasts that are out are kind of funny in that I don't go for the super conspiracy theory ones because, funnily enough, there are conspiracy theories on both ends of the spectrum, whether you're on the right wing or the left wing.
Have you been listening to the left wing too?
I don't know that there are any.
Sure, there must be.
Yeah, but
Because there's plenty of left-wing conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
There are
well-
some, and I've worked with them before.
like the Russians hijacked the last election, the election previous to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what always kind of made me laugh, chuckle, especially when all the people were talking about Russian collusion and not my president, when things weren't going their way. Now things have gone seemingly their way, and remember right after the election, like, oh, you have to trust the system, all this stuff.
So what happens? I mean, there's been actually, this has nothing to do with your topic.
It doesn't matter. It's not really a topic. It's just kind of.
So there's all these people that as far as I can tell, they've made a career out of like attacking Trump, like books.
Oh, those will still go on.
Well, I don't like. What are they going to do now, though?
Oh, they'll still go on.
Because like press conferences are going to be boring. I would think that because I was listening to some news coverage and they were saying that after that they were basically like, this is inauguration week, so Biden's going to get a pass this week, but next week, right, the questions are going to start and there's going to be real scrutiny and all this, and I'm like, is there really going to be scrutiny?
I don't think. I think that the only thing that came about was any veneer of objectivity, has kind of been broken, and that happened a long time ago, I believe. And I remember I recently listened to this one podcast that says there's no such thing as objective. Everybody's got their views and it's colored by whatever they believe, but this podcaster was saying, but I'm going to try to be I'm going to be honest, and tell you what I think is the truth. And that is that the best we can hope for? I kind of think that's a reasonable statement.
But what is truth?
Well, that's a whole nother issue, but still.
I'm just like,
I think people need to be a little more discerning about what they hear, what we hear. But I did think it was really funny because there was one guy who has been going off on President Biden just like the press went off on President Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting there going, well, I think all the media should do that.
Would you remember the first conference with the press secretary with, what was it, Sean Spicer? Do you remember the first thing they said to him is are you going to tell the truth? Do you remember that? That was like the first question he got asked. They were like, are you going to deal with this Russian collusion thing, right?
To President Trump?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was like the first thing they said in the press conference, and as far as I can tell, the new press secretary, there was nothing like that. There were no hard questions asked. Well,
the funny thing, I think this has always been my deal about the Trump presidency. I never understood, well, what made it seem to many people like I supported that president, even though I really didn't. I really couldn't care less about,
national politics.
Well, only only as a study of propaganda really is how I kind of look at that. But when the establishment attacks someone with stuff that they are in fact guilty of, it seems like kind of a non-starter, but that's how they get everybody, right? Bo Xilai in China was taken down for quote unquote corruption or whatever he did. I mean, he wasn't a good guy.
Mm.
I think there are stories when he was the mayor of that little town that he was the mayor of, like he was a ladies' man. I mean, he liked the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And there were stories about women just kind of disappearing.
Really?
And the conclusion that they're trying to get the conclusion they're trying to get the listener to take up is that this guy was the cause of it. Just like many years ago, I think I was still in high school, but the city of New Orleans was supposedly the police department in New Orleans was considered to be incredibly corrupt. And the chief of police said that we got rid of 6 officers. And and incidentally, the murder rate went down like 28%. And I was like, are you trying to get me to put 2 and 2 together?
I'm sure he wasn't.
Well, I think he was. I think they were trying to say this was helping. But I'm just sitting there going, 6 police officers were responsible for 20 some odd percent of the murders in New Orleans. I mean, that's just
that's scary.
And of course, the argument is you can't blame a few bad apples, but that's kind of what happens, though. Yeah, of course you can't blame a few bad apples, but that's what's going to happen.
See, the thing is, I don't even feel like I can affect any kind of change. Certainly, like no one gives a shit what I think, and certainly like in the realm of the federal level, like what can anybody do, right? So what do? You just do stuff in your local.
Well, that's been the argument, right?
Because a lot of the conservative guys say that as well. I was listening to a guy late last night, and he was talking about all the the changing of the curriculums, the rewriting of revisionist history.
Well, the local
woke
affects
thing,
all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
right.
The local has more of an effect on your life than the national does.
He was like, start in your school district, because he's like, it doesn't matter who the president is. If this shit's going on in your school district and you're asleep at the wheel, not doing anything about it.
Well, I believe that's correct. I mean, right? You can't, if you want to take the analogy a little bit further, you really shouldn't be worried about what other kids are doing. Make sure your kids are doing right. And if everybody does that, then it has an aggregating effect. But that requires a certain premise before that, and that premise is everyone has the same idea of what right is.
I don't know that do people give a lot of. Maybe they do.
I think the odd thing is people all want the same things out of life generally.
Do they want right?
Mm-hmm.
Do they want things to be? Do they want to do right, or they just want to get ahead?
They want to be able to provide and have shelter, have enough money to take some vacations. Everyone essentially wants to be able to make enough money to afford shelter, to afford food, and to take care of their family. To in the hierarchy of needs, everybody's needs are pretty similar.
But where is doing right in the hierarchy of needs?
I'm just talking about the hierarchy of needs. The doing right part, like the whole point of you need to go local, right? Well, that only works if everybody's kind of on the same page of what they want.
Okay.
There might be people that don't want the same things. There might be people that want to have laissez-faire capitalism. There might be people that want, stringent communism. There might be people that want some kind of in-between, which is where I think most people fall. People want to be able to afford healthcare. It's just that there's a big disagreement on how to accomplish that. And whenever something doesn't go quite right, the response is always, maybe it didn't go far enough, or maybe they didn't do enough. Kind of like the response to whenever someone who's an anti-communist starts going off on all these communist regimes or communist, attempts that didn't work, or seems like they didn't work, right? I mean, the response to someone who is pro that is like, well, maybe it just didn't go far enough, or it wasn't done right. And we've had this conversation before, and I'm just like, well, if it hasn't been done right before, maybe we can't do it right.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
And that's kind of good advice.
Well, it depends on what your goal is, though.
Again, that's what I'm saying. Without the fuller picture, we're especially in our lifetime, there's this idea of the soundbite lifestyle. even more recently, right? Live your best life. I'm just like, look, your life is your life. Whether it be the best or not, it's still going to be your life.
Mm-hmm.
Calling it your best life doesn't make it so. All these people that talk about how, oh, I met my soulmate. Is that even a thing?
I don't know. People love it.
People love it. People believe it.
I like the idea of a soulmate.
I think everybody kind of does.
But I'm like, did I meet her, and did I already meet her?
Well, my response to that is, you don't know if you've met your soulmate. Well, okay, first of all, what the hell is one? And, I mean,
It's someone you're destined to be with.
Okay, well, if that's the answer you want to give, then
It's not an answer. I think that's probably that's like the textbook definition of soulmate.
Right, but isn't that kind of a cop-out? People talk about destiny that don't believe in destiny.
Oh, I don't know about that.
There are things that are pretty black and white.
Okay. What does that mean in this context, though?
Well, there are certain things that are pretty black and white. If you believe in destiny,
Yeah.
then you kind of have to be on board all the way
Oh, well,
in destiny.
okay.
Right? You can't sit there and say, I believe in destiny, but I control my own fate. I believe in destiny, but I can change things.
Well, I think a lot of people fall into that camp.
Right. I mean,
Like so you're saying they don't really believe in destiny, then?
Well, I have a hard time with that.
You can't pick and choose.
Yeah, especially with that whole, I call it the sliding doors theory, right? If you pick route A as opposed to route B, then things would be different. I'm just like, no, if it's your destiny, you're going to end up the same place, whether or not you pick route A or route B.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that.
Well,
I guess I'm
cool.
like a sliding doors guy then.
Well, that's cool though. I mean, that's like the idea of saying, oh, if I became a doctor instead of a lawyer, I'd be employed. I don't know. Right? Well, okay, let me back up. Some guy who's in a certain profession and not doing very well, and saying, oh, if I just picked this different thing years ago when it was time to pick, I'd be doing much better now. I'm just like, if you believe in destiny, then you would either be you're an unemployed engineer, which seems pretty hard to believe.
An unemployed engineer.
Yeah.
There's plenty
Right
now.
Well, yeah, but considering, right? So if you're an unemployed engineer and you're like, oh, I should have gone to med school. If you're an unemployed engineer, I think you'd probably be an unemployed doctor.
I don't know about that.
And, like I said.
The reason I say that is because I know a kid he's like an engineering graduate, and he was like, there's nothing. Yeah. He's like, unless you know somebody right now, that
could have been the case, all throughout history.
Yeah.
This whole idea that, because that makes a difference. Who who you can help get a leg up.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I hear people talk about, oh, this place is, this country is misogynistic or racist because of, whatever.
XYZ.
Right. I'm sitting there thinking the only reason why that argument would work is if you live in a place that isn't.
Right.
For example, someone saying, oh, this country is, and I'm not using this country in particular as an example, but any country, right? Someone's sitting there saying, oh, it's all rigged. I'm not getting anywhere because I'm the wrong ethnicity.
Yeah.
And the country is like against this ethnicity.
And they live in China.
Or whatever, right? But in a country where the people of that country are trying not to make that happen, that's the only place that argument can come forward. And if we want to make it concrete, okay, U.S. and China with ethnicities,
mm-hmm.
right? If you happen to be whatever ethnicity, non-white,
Nepalese, Tibetan,
non-majority, right?
Right.
And you talk about how racist the country is because you can't get a leg up. I think that you can only make that argument in a country that isn't, or trying not to be.
Yeah, but those same people are going to say, if you're talking about America, they're going to say, no, there absolutely is that absolutely does go on in America.
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying that I think in America they're trying not to be.
People are.
Yeah.
Trying not to be.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
prejudiced.
There's always going to be prejudice, but racism, as I understand the word, not how it's come to being.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This country elected a black president to try and I think partly try and prove that they're not racist. China's never going to have a president from the Uyghurs.
No. Never.
I mean, I think China has something like 44 ethnicities in that country. And if you're not Han Chinese, you're not going to get anywhere.
Wow.
That was like...
Might as well just leave.
Well, that's like the in Iraq, right? Was it the Sunnis or the Shia? Anyway.
Probably the Sunnis.
I can't. Well, the Sunnis are the majority of the Islamic world. I think the Shias are a smaller faction.
Wait, but wasn't Saddam a Shia?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know either. How did we get here?
We just kind of meandered. It's kind of par for the course.
That's definitely a meander.
But yeah, so I don't, do I say there isn't racism in this country? No, because there is. I've experienced it. It hasn't been the blatant, overt racism that others have experienced.
Yeah.
But it is racism nonetheless.
But I don't think you can take an extreme form of racism and then the subtle racism that you're talking about and then make an equivocation between the two things and try and say, well, they're the same.
Oh, I'm definitely not saying they're the same.
But there's people that do. That are like, oh, well, this thing over here, this, that you're not even aware of just because of the fact that you're, a white man or something, is the same as, the guy in the fucking hood burning a cross, right? I'm like, no. I don't.
You mean like a Klansman going into the hood, burning a cross?
Yeah.
I'd almost want to pay money to see something like that.
No, wearing a hood, not going into the hood.
Oh, I was about to say, because, I
don't think the Klan guys go into the hood.
Well, they're not stupid.
But yeah.
Could you imagine if like 4 or 5 Klan guys decide to go to I don't know if Cabrini Green even exists, but go to like the deepest, darkest, most violent project.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, they'd get there. They'd get killed.
But I hate it when people try and say, well, this example over here and this example are exactly the same.
Oh, the false equivalencies.
Yep.
I wish I knew more about the technical terms for various arguments. I don't.
I don't think it really matters.
Well, there are people that it does matter to. The people that...
You mean the people that have degrees in it?
I don't know if it's degrees, but people that people kind of think are too big for their britches or try to act too smart.
Mm-hmm.
That use technical terms for everything.
I hate that shit. Just like people that use management speak.
Well, if in certain instances, the technical terms for stuff is easy, because if everyone knows what things mean, then you don't have to explain it over and over and over again.
That's true.
Right? Like ad hominem attack. You could just say that's an ad hominem attack instead of sitting there saying, oh, you can't just keep there attacking this person because you can't attack their argument.
Oh, that's an ad hominem attack?
I believe so, yes.
Well, there's a lot of that goes on.
Yeah, it really does. And I don't know if it's just stupidity, because I've done it, and after I do it, I feel like a dumbass.
No, it's a tactic.
Okay, it could be a tactic too, but I do it I've done it as well, and every time I do it, I feel like a dumbass.
I think it's a well-known tactic. You attack the person and you make them feel bad, and then you say, what are we going to do about this?
It's so well known that there's actually a name for it.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's definitely a strategy.
But I did listen to a radio show that was kind of funny. The person talking was a professor emeritus of political science, so they're retired, and they were talking about Joe Biden and how they felt sorry for Joe Biden, because he just he has spent more than a generation, just the better part of his adult life, trying to become the president.
Mm-hmm.
He finally has, and he's actually kind of passed his sell-by date.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and then they also said something that kind of struck me because, you know,
I
they
don't
said,
know that I would feel sorry for somebody for being the president.
well, I don't think that that person meant it literally. They just felt sorry for the guy because he just doesn't have the chops.
Okay.
Right? He's past his sell by date.
Okay.
He can't. You know, he's just not equipped.
Mm.
He might never have been equipped, but he's definitely not equipped now.
Oh.
But the thing that struck me was they were arguing that Joe Biden was elected for who he wasn't, and so I thought it was going to be, oh yeah, he got elected because he wasn't Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But the thesis, I guess it's the thesis, but the crux of their argument was he got elected because he wasn't Bernie Sanders.
Oh shit.
You know, the Bernie Sanders was getting a lot of verve at the beginning of the Democratic.
Did you see the meme that's going around?
You know, I'm not on social media.
Oh, well, it's all over social media. So it's Bernie. I guess he was at the inauguration.
Yeah.
And just kind of sitting there in a chair wearing, like, he just looks like an old man and he's just wearing his mittens.
Uh-huh.
And they've taken that picture of him with the mittens and just put him, he's everywhere in every other picture on social media. So it's like Cool Runnings with Bernie Sanders. It's just like this, it's gone viral.
Well, anyway, so the whole point of the thing was that at the beginning of the the nomination process, Bernie Sanders was kind of kicking it, killing it, and the Democratic Party establishment was sitting there going, "We need to stop this."
And they did.
Well, because if Bernie Sanders becomes the nominee, we're going to lose big. So they kind of got behind Joe Biden.
So Sanders probably won't get anything then, yeah?
Oh, I don't know.
I doubt it.
And that, because that's the thing with a lot of people on the podcasts that are out there, especially the right-leaning ones, you know, that they weren't voting. The vote wasn't against Donald Trump's policies. It was against his personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people seem like they're very happy that he's not around anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, the establishment on both sides, because they don't want the crazy populist folks, you know, being able to grab the reins and do anything. And again, this is also presupposing that people are have any modicum of control in the election process.
Well, if they don't, then I don't know what'll happen.
That statement seems so nonsensical. I'm not even gonna touch it.
Okay. On that note, are we done?
I think we've been done.